welcome to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him at gods5minutes@gmail.com. Now, here's Ed Wilson with God's 5 Minutes.
Hello, friends. John 21:3 reads, Simon Peter saith unto them, I go a-fishing. They say unto him, We also go with thee. They went forth, and entered into a ship immediately. That night they caught nothing. When the morning was now come, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples knew not that it was Jesus. This event took place about a month after the crucifixion of Jesus and is one of his last appearances to the apostles. It seems to mark a point at which the leaderless sheep were beginning to wander from the grand purpose of his ministry he had taught them, which is usual among followers who have lost a great leader. So we may take that night of toil as full of meaning. Think of them as the darkness fell and the solemn bulk of the girdling hills lay blacker upon the waters, and the Syrian sky was mirrored with all its stars, sparkling in the still lake. And all the night long cast after cast was made, and time after time the net was drawn in, and nothing in it but tangle and mud. And when the first streak of the morning breaks pale over the eastern hills, they are still so absorbed in their task that they do not recognize the voice that hails them from the nearer shore. Friends, have ye any meat? And they answer it with a wholly disappointed one syllable, No. It is a picture of us all, weary and wet, tugging at the oar in the dark, often seeming to fail. What then? If the last cast has brought nothing, try another. Never mind the darkness and the cold and the wetting spray and the weariness. You can't expect to be as comfortable in a fishing boat as in your living room. You can't expect that your nets will always be full. Failure and disappointment mingle in the most successful lives. Christian work has often to be done with no results at all apparent to the doer. But be sure of this, that they who learn and practice the homely, wholesome task that God sets them will catch some gleams of a presence most real and most blessed, and before they die will know that their labor has not been in vain in the Lord. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. And so, finally, there stands out before us here the blessed picture of the Lord himself, the risen Lord, with the halo of death and resurrection round about him, there on the firm beach in the increasing light of the morning, interested in, caring about, directing and crowning with his own blessing the obedient work of his servants. Jesus Christ, fresh from the grave, who had been down into those dark regions of mystery where the dead sleep and wait, and had come back into this world and was on the verge of ascending to the Father. This Christ, the possessor of such experience, takes an interest in 7 poor men's fishing and cares to know where their ragged old net is full or is empty. There never was a more sublime and wonderful binding together of the loftiest and the lowliest than in that question in the mouth of the risen Lord. Then comes the guidance. He does not come into the boat and cast the nets for them, but teaches them the way and uses his wisdom and power to make it profitable. Cast the net on the right side of the ship, and ye shall find. His command is followed by swift, unquestioning obedience, which in its turn is immediately succeeded by the large blessing, which the Master then gave on the instant, which he gives still, though it may come long after faith has discerned his presence and obedience has bowed to his command. While we are toiling on the tossing sea, he watches from the shore, is interested in all our weary efforts, will guide us if we own to him our weakness, and will give us to see at last issues greater than we had dared to hope from our poor service. Though he be on the tossing sea, though we be on the tossing sea, and he on the quiet shore, between us there is a true union and communion. His heart is with us, and if our hearts are with him, and from him will pass over all strength, grace, and blessing to us. We see him as we labor through the night of our lives, standing on the solid shore with the morning sun rising behind him, checking on what our labors have been and beckoning to us to the places of rest, of fire, bread, and fish laid on there in his beloved presence. Have you talked to him today?
You have been listening to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him by email at godsfiveminutes@gmail.com. Tune in next time to hear more encouraging thoughts from God's Word on God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson.